voice of the coast.
Tonight, a humpback whale becomes tangled off the Port Macquarie coast. Everyday Australians awarded King's Birthday honours.
I'm Daniel Gibson. Later on this news hour, growing fears that supermarkets could hike up the price of eggs. And Peter Costello's resignation sparks calls for Nine's CEO to step down.
7 News begins now.
Good evening. National parks are on whale watch this evening after a number of the mammals became tangled along the coast. The latest was off Port Macquarie this morning, believed to be the second this long weekend.
Incredible but concerning images of a whale entangled off the Port Macquarie coast. This video was captured by drone operator Alex McNaught at the request of National Parks.
I was called in as being the local drone operator, and I was able...
Fortunately, spotters on headlands lost sight of the giant mammal.
We weren't able to relocate it with vessels or shore-based observers, so we had to come back in today, but we're certainly on standby, ready to respond to any future reports.
Anybody who sees an entangled whale should contact National Parks or Orca immediately.
There's no predicting what their movements might be, and so with the active spotters on headlands, any sighting is jumped on immediately to see if it's the same one that needs assistance.
Samantha Crowe, 7 News.
The families of 2 missing men are desperately searching bushland in the hope of locating Patrick Lidkey and Gage Wilson. There is fresh hope tonight the men may still be alive.
Hoping to find some answers after going missing 3 weeks ago.
A little bit disheartening at the end of the day when we don't have any new clues.
Locals are scouring trails on foot and by horse along Quiniam Range Road in Mullumbimby, trying to locate missing 31-year-old Gage Wilson. His car was found crashed and abandoned near Teals Lookout on May 18.
We're going to explore down the gully here, but we've got to go down the track and then come back up and search the dense bushland there near where the crash site was.
Clothes and footprints believed to belong to Mr. Wilson were found along Rayner's track. Efforts have turned to the area today.
Hopefully we find some more clues and find something different.
Meanwhile, the family of Tweed Heads man Patrick Lidkey aren't giving up hope after the 39-year-old went missing in Cobbacai near the Queensland border 50 days ago.
Just completely distressing. You go from hope to hopelessness and back again. It's an emotional roller coaster.
The search to find him resumed in Piggabeen and Currumbin Valley yesterday after bodily fluids were found near a care box left for him last week. It's currently undergoing DNA testing.
Had a professional tracker look at the photograph, and he identified that would be consistent with someone that's living in the bush.
A GoFundMe page has been set up to help with the search. Mr. Lidkey suffers from neurodiversity. His family are desperate to find him.
And he sheds a lot of things, like sheds clothing and just really to connect and be present in nature. I feel that just increases his vulnerability.
Elise Holden, 7 News.
An emergency service station on the mid-north coast has been targeted by thieves. It was ransacked, leaving volunteers without essential equipment that they need to protect their community.
An empty space where the chainsaw usually sits.
Then it clicked that something serious has happened.
Nabiak's RFS and SES shed ransacked during a break and enter and theft. Doors were left broken and life-saving rescue equipment valued at over $10,000 taken.
Noticed some chips off there. It affected us dearly, knowing that some of our equipment has been stolen, that we need out on the fire line or anywhere else.
These volunteers have given hours to the community, battling blazes and assisting during floods. They say they're gutted.
Without the community, there is no us. We all work together. The community helps each other here as well. And it's devastating to come and find something like this happen to us.
They're now calling for community support, desperate for the equipment to be returned.
We are urging anyone in Clarkson Street and Farnell Street, if they have CCTV, to go through it and
hand over it to Foster Police.
Investigations are currently underway, with crews hoping for a swift outcome, wanting to get back to helping the community and doing what they do best.
We're happy to have anyone, even the people that have taken the stuff, come and join us, see what the equipment's used for and how we help your community.
Other units will be available for call-outs if required. Hannah Hartup, 7 News.
6 kayakers have been rescued off Cape Byron after strong winds and currents hindered efforts to return home. Marine Rescue Brunswick was called to action at around 12:15 on Saturday afternoon and located the group nearly 3 kilometres offshore. 3 double kayaks were strapped and towed back to Byron Bay. Marine Rescue says it's a reminder for boaties and paddlers to check conditions before heading out on the water. A Mid-North Coast Vietnam War veteran and 2 Rotarians are among those on the King's Birthday Honours list. They're being recognised alongside hundreds of Australians for their tireless work to put the community first.
They're the humble heroes changing lives and building a better community. 3 Manning and Hastings men have received the Order of Australia Medal.
So I suppose you could say I'm accepting this award on behalf of all volunteers, not just Rotarians, all volunteers.
Ron Irwin has been recognised for his service to Veteran Affairs and local sport. A life member of the Wingham RSL, he was instrumental in creating this centenary of Anzac Memorial and establishing a support program for aged veterans.
We visit aged care facilities and talk to aged veterans and their families if they needed to be, and that has been very successful because some of these people don't get too many visitors.
Bob Nelson has dedicated his entire life to the community. Involved in Rotary internationally, he's worked on 9 overseas projects, building schools and sending books to children worldwide. He learnt the importance of helping out from a young age.
You just look at the Taree community and you have a look at what happens, and every time you look deeply, there's some volunteers involved.
Reginald Pearce is another Rotarian making a difference. He was the chair of the Donations in Kind Committee and the Adopt a School program. Working on humanitarian missions most of his life, he says he's grateful to have made such an impact.
I think just a desire to help people who can't help themselves or people that are in need. That's been the motivation all the way through.
Hannah Hartup is with us now from Taree, and Hannah, emergency service medals have also been awarded.
Nick, 3 Mid-North Coast volunteers have been commended of their work through these awards. Ray Mazurek has dedicated over 20 years to marine rescue and played an integral part in the completion of the Foster Tuncurry Unit base. He's also led many challenging operations and been a regional director of the organisation since 2021. He says he's humbled by the award.
You don't do these things to get a reward. You do it because, one, in this particular organisation, you keep your brain.
David Ellis and Rod McDonough have also been recognised for their work with surf lifesaving.
Thanks, Hannah. That's Hannah Hartup reporting live from Taree. Well, further north, King's Honours have recognised lives devoted to policing, firefighting, tourism and learn to swim projects. Hearts motivated by a love for community and a desire to build a better life for others.
Times of crisis help identify those deserving honour, like Australian Police Medal winner Superintendent Scott Tanner on the front lines of the Lismore flood crisis.
The community just stood up, helped out emergency services, helped out their neighbours, their friends, helped out people they didn't even know.
The Richmond head of police says 30 years in country policing is nowhere near enough.
I love it. Every day I would start back again tomorrow if I could and do it all again.
Bellingham's Walter Tyson has devoted 40 years at the helm of the Lions Club, a motivating force in the construction of the first 25-metre pool in the Bellingham Shire in 1978.
Took 13 weekends. I think after about 6 weeks, they wanted to have a break, and I said, no, you're not having a break. If you have a break, you'll never come back.
Also heading up a 33-year stint running a national eel fishing competition with record catches. For Byron Bay's Cameron Arnold, a job washing dishes inspired a life dedicated to tourism.
It brings experiences and knowledge and connections.
His favourite project to date, the Northern River's 13.5-kilometre rail trail.
Turning the old corridor into a walking, cycling, tourism product, and 10, 11 years later we're actually riding on it and experiencing it.
The mentoring work of Bellingen firefighter Cliff Last has also been recognised, a respected leader in major out-of-area deployments.
He has excellent fireground leadership skills, and we have a lot of our seasoned and new recruits really look up to him.
Liz Penny, 7 News.
Well, Kirstie's here now for a look at today's weather conditions. And Kirstie, it was a shivery start along the coast today.
It absolutely was, Nick. Hello to you and good evening, everybody. Temperatures dropped this morning following some milder minimums across the weekend. And this morning's cooler temperatures was all thanks to some cloud cover clearing overnight, allowing our maximums to drop down. Coolest around the inland. Kempsey shivered through its coldest morning of the year so far, dropping down to 4 degrees. The same in Grafton, where we woke to 3 degrees this morning. We did see patches of frost for some and fog as well on areas of higher ground this morning. Blue skies and sunshine though for most of our coastline across the afternoon, that allowing temperatures to warm up, reaching the high teens through Byron and the low 20s through Ballina, Lismore and in Coolangatta. The wind chill though did make us feel a few degrees cooler. It should remain settled and sunny for the most of this week. I'll have the forecast shortly.
Settled and sunny, that sounds great, Kirstie.
That's what we all want right now, I think.
Absolutely do. Thank you. We'll see you again soon. We're still to come in 7 News. More resources needed to combat domestic violence, and why Clarence Valley residents will have to travel an extra 60 kilometres from today.
And a little later on this news hour, the government deploys a new weapon in its battle against vaping. Peter Costello's resignation puts pressure on Nine's CEO to follow suit. The discovery of Michael Mosley's body sparks new questions, and Donald Trump's back on the campaign trail as the election battle heats up.
There is concerns tonight about wait times for men who want to change their violent behaviour towards women, with coast authorities recording more than 2,500 domestic violence offences last year. Each passing day puts victims' lives at risk.
Molly Ticehurst, Ashley Good, Samantha Murphy. These are the faces of just some of the women who have allegedly been killed by men this year. But those wanting to change their behaviour aren't getting help. Regional rehabilitation services are inundated. The wait lists up to 3 months long.
Women and children aren't getting the support and safety provided for them.
Programs are being paused, and experts fear it could be the difference between life or death.
We know that, for these men, it might be the last time they put their hand up to get support. We just don't have the capacity to start contacting women and children before they're in the program.
Providers blaming a lack of financial assistance in this year's state budget.
Men's behaviour change services have not been given anything, and this is a huge problem. We don't have the funding to check with women at the 6-month mark, at the 1-year mark, and follow up with what is happening.
The state government says wait times average 4 weeks, but concede it's worse in some locations. An evaluation will be undertaken in 2026. One option, a residential model for men to keep women in their own homes.
Perhaps we can provide low-cost accommodation alternatives while they continue to maintain their financial contribution to the family environment of which they've used violence.
A plan aimed at helping women and children from becoming another statistic.
If we can work with the perpetrator, we're less likely to have a victim.
Aspen Blomfield, 7 News.
And if you or anyone you know needs support, you can contact 1-800-RESPECT. That's 1-800-737-732. The Ulmarra Ferry north of Grafton will make its final crossing at around 11 o'clock tonight. The state government is shutting down the service. That's despite a petition with 6,000 signatures from the public. The closure is the end of an era for the ferry established all the way back in the 1890s. It transports 90 to 100 cars daily between Ulmarra and Southgate. Drivers are now forced to travel an extra 64 kilometres, with Labor opting to prioritise the Lower Portman ferry.
At the very same time that the government have announced that they're taking over a vehicular ferry service in Sydney that has lower patronage than Ulmarra at a greater cost per trip.
Transport for New South Wales says the ageing Ulmarra ferry had reduced numbers and the site would need dredging. Well, still to come in 7 News, the bodyboarding teams challenge winners crowned in Port Macquarie. And all the action from the final day of the Under-16 state rugby titles.
Live and first at the Apple HQ.
All the free upgrades coming to your phone, iPad and more.
Plus, it's the Box Hair Dye Boom.
Why it's back in trend and the best brands at affordable prices.
Start with Sunrise.
Welcome back. Mid-North Coast has been toppled after taking out the Country Junior Rugby State Championships, but they were no match for Penrith in the Country versus City quarterfinals in Coffs Harbour.
The top three sides in the Country Cup went head-to-head with Sydney's best 5 squads for today's final round. The Country Cup champions, Mid-North Coast, taking on a well-drilled Penrith side in the quarterfinals.
It's not running it straight at their 10s, 20s, 30s. Try and run it outside of their big boys so we can make some metres, and it works pretty well.
The Mid-North Coast scrambling to recover from a 9-point deficit at half-time, a disappointing and costly lapse in defence.
It was a tough match. They got their 2 tries early on, and once you got a lead in this short competition format, 15 minutes each way, it's hard to play catch up.
A tight tussle producing no headway at either end of the paddock in a scoreless second half. The home side state rep players working hard to tip the scales.
They raised their energy and we matched it, and it was pretty evident we were just stalemated there at the end.
Penrith through to the semis 12-3. The Coffs Coast a happy hunting ground for the Under-16s Girls and Boys State Championship coordinators.
All the different ages are playing at different venues through the state, and we're very pleasingly in shorts and T-shirts, where some of the others are in their Ugg boots, trying to keep warm.
Selectors picking players for representative teams for a Country versus City clash in Sydney in July. Liz Penny, 7 News.
Port Macquarie has taken out the bodyboarding team's challenge for the 3rd consecutive year. Lighthouse Beach turned on perfect conditions for the 2-day event, which welcomed 100 riders to the region. It's the only teams competition of its type in the world. Port Macquarie again walking away with the glory, but it wasn't an easy task.
It was hard. We got into a bit of a sticky situation, got about 8 or 9 points down from Newey and Port Stephens, and it was a bit of a fight back, but we ended up getting there and made it 3 years in a row.
10 teams competed in total, some from as far away as Western Australia and the Sunshine Coast. Up next in 7 News, Kirstie's got your local weather forecast.
Good evening, everyone. We are bracing for a cold front to cross New South Wales and Victoria.
Warning.
In cooler temperatures, windy weather and the chance of showers. This system sticking around into Wednesday too before more settled weather takes its place heading into the second half of our week. And for most of our state, we'll have drier conditions, some showers though across the southeast and through the Victorian border region, otherwise remaining dry and settled, including for those of us along the north coast. So what's in store tomorrow? Well, we will wake to some frost around in the morning thanks to these single figure minimums, just 4 degrees in Dorrigo. ago. Light winds becoming gusty into the evening, but during the day, clear skies and sunshine. A top of 19 degrees in Byron Bay, 20 through both Casino and the same in Yamba. On the waters tomorrow, winds up to 30 knots north of Yamba in the morning, but easing through the evening. A strong wind warning currently in place there. Further south, it is a different story. Winds around 20 knots in the morning, increasing into the evening. A strong wind warning also in place for the Hunter. Through to Wednesday now, winds increasing for most of us. Southwesterly gusts around 35 kilometres an hour. And with the wind chill, our maximum temperatures are likely to feel much cooler. Remaining clear though, sunny and blue skies, 24 degrees for Grafton and a top of 23 in Coffs Harbour. And our Thursday forecast more or less rinse and repeat with some cool winds around but remaining clear and sunny. Foster dropping back to 17 and Tari much of the same, a couple of degrees below average. We'll also see those minimum temperatures drop back off. Byron Bay a top of 22 and Tweed Heads 24 degrees. Some chilly winds but some of that warmth cutting through during the day.
Yeah, let's hope for some of that warmth, Kirstie.
Yeah, some nice temperatures on the way.
Thank you. And that is your local news for tonight. You can always catch up on our website or at 7+. Right now, Dan's got your latest national news. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and Kirstie and I will see you tomorrow night at 6 o'clock.